Hey guys, welcome to the Church of Media Guys show. And if you want to learn how to leverage and use and maximize technology and media so that you can take the gospel to the world, then you need to start now by clicking the subscribe button. It's the one that says subscribe, and ringing the bell. It's the one that looks like a bell. And when you click on it, it starts doing really cool things for you, like telling you when we're here. With me, as always, is my partner. I seem to have really overmodulated that. I'm going to turn that audio down just a hair. With me, as always, is my cohort, my compadre, the brother from another mother, the bearded one, the one with the hair, Justin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I was just waiting to see how much Dave had in his system, and then also I was waiting for you to call me lovely again, and I'm so glad you didn't. It seems to be a coin flip, no matter how many times I ask you to not call me lovely. What's going on, Angela, Tom, Alan, Crystal, Barry, Mellow Yellow, that church, that
Mellow
other
Yellow
church. I'm scrolling really quickly here. Jordan. Alex, Alan, I think I already said. Pete, what's going on, everybody watching? We have a lot of people watching. Thank you guys so much for being here. Question of the day, how did Easter go? How was your Easter? We're recording this 2 days after Easter. Man, what a historical Easter. Do you think we're going to be talking about this, Dave, in years to come?
The great Easter of 2020. That's what we're going to be talking about. Yes.
Will it be in the history books?
I don't know. It already is. It already is. Yeah.
Unprecedented Easter in your home. Man, almost kind of like not to take away the struggle there, but almost like the home churches in the Middle East or in China that can't meet in public. It's like, this is their Easter every year where they can't go out. They have to worship privately.
My pastor,
a lot of people are like, well, what can we do about communion? How are we going to do about communion? It's like, dude, there are people in China that cannot observe communion because they just don't have the stuff, or they have to use something else besides the typical juice and crackers. Like, they have to use leavened bread. Like, this is such a first world problem that we're dealing with that other people have had to fight for a long time. So all things considered, I think I didn't plan to rant on that, but all things considered, I mean, we had Easter pretty well, pretty good off, considering. So Dave, real quick, how did your Easter go?
It went really good. What you're saying there, my pastor keeps using the term, and I think it's extremely accurate. We are living right now as a first century church in the 21st century. So thankfully, we have access to the tools, like literally the tools that we're talking about today and the tools that you and I are using right this second to get this message out. We have access to that, but we still have some very first century church kind of things going on where we're not allowed to gather, and we don't want to because people will put nails in our parking lot. The police will come and drop nails and make us, go to jail and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't want to talk about violation of, Constitution or anything like that on today's show. Don't want to talk about government overreach and black boots that go up to your knees. But sorry, that's just me.
So let us know in the chat, how did Easter go? Dave, today we're talking about Zoom alternatives in 2020. And if this is something that interests you, if your curiosity is piqued, if you're concerned about Zoom and you want some alternatives to know if there's something better for your church, give this video a like so we know that it's helpful for you guys. And I love seeing you guys have chats in the chat, having conversations in the chat. So if someone asks a question that's off topic, you guys in the chat, feel free to answer them. And we've got mods that are kind of keeping an eye on everything as well. But today we're talking about Zoom alternatives. Now, last week we talked about Zoom privacy concerns. Dave, do you want to kind of sum up what we talked about last week?
Yeah, basically, Zoom has a few issues that they need to fix. There's been they've grown so fast. I'm not making excuses for them, but as most of this stuff happens, as apps are created, as services are created, one of the mantras is you get your product released as fast as you can, get it out there, and then start listening to the people that are using it and fix, and you iterate and iterate and iterate and stuff. And so it's agile development. So they got their product out. It's been in the market for several years, but it's been almost kind of like a little cottage kind of thing where those of us who know it and use it and we love it and all that's great. But now literally everybody is installing Zoom. Their user base, Justin, has got to have gone through the roof in the last 6 weeks. The what that ends up doing is getting more attention, and because it's been getting more attention, then there have been some hackers and stuff out there that have been like, ooh, let's see if we can have some fun with Zoom and mess with people, because that's what they do. That's just what a hacker does.
I think we all in the tech space knew that cybercrime was going to go up. A, because more people are online. B, because cyber criminals who are normally, Mr. Anderson during the day typing in spreadsheets they're at home now, and they can do whatever they want in their free time. So we all knew that this was coming. Zoom, unfortunately, because of its ease of use, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on today, you'll see a theme of why Zoom is number one right now. It's become everyone's go-to, and just like PC, they don't make as many viruses for Mac or malware for Mac as they do PCs, because law of numbers. You wanna hit the most people possible, and Zoom is the easiest way to do that. And so if you want more information on that, about the Zoom privacy and security concerns, I think our summary was, it's just as safe as anything else. The security and safety is on your shoulders. And, if you leave something open, it's just like leaving your church doors open during the week when no one's there. If you don't password protect it, if you don't use the waiting room, all that stuff is going to be on your shoulders. So you need to be able to, keep an eye on that. And I got an email from Zoom, I think it was later last week, about all the security stuff that they kind of rolled out really quickly. And I'm very pleased with the things that they rolled out. Like, for example, waiting rooms you can activate while you're in the middle of a meeting. So if you didn't do it before, you can do it now.
Yep.
A couple other security features that I really liked. And surprisingly, now when you make a meeting, password is on by default. And I really like that. I caught that before they announced it. So let's talk about some Zoom alternatives. So we've got 4, maybe 5 stuff here. Dave, you got the show notes up?
I do. It's right over there on that page, back over there somewhere. There it is. I see it.
While you get prepared for the show.
Sorry.
We've got 4 or 5, probably 4 or 5 if we have time, maybe Zoom alternatives for you. They each have their pros and cons. So what we're going to do is we got 5 alternatives, and again, I'm just going to run them down real quick, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of each. We got Jitsi, we got GoToMeeting, we got Webex, and we got Google Meet. They all have pros and cons, and again, you'll see kind of why Zoom keeps coming up on top, because we're going to keep saying how it compares to Zoom. Now, me and Dave have not used each of these extensively. I have experience in 2 of them. Dave has experience in a few of them. And there's one I don't think either of us have used, but we want to put it on your radar in case you're interested.
Absolutely.
And, at the end of this, we'll give our thoughts to kind of like, should you stay with Zoom? Should you move? Should I stay or should I go now? That's enough. Less than 3 seconds.
The clash.
So let's get into it. So Zoom alternative number 1, Dave, Jitsi.
Okay.
That's spelled Jitsi.
Right, Jitsi. Jitsi is really cool. Here's the deal. You and I have we've kind of purposed, when we are delivering information and recommending tools and doing things like that for our audience, that we wouldn't. That we would try to point them in directions of things that are easy for them to deploy and easy for them to make use of. Just kind of grab it. Here's a video on how to use it, and then before you know it, they're going crazy, and it's all great. So we try not to get too heavily into the minutia of things like, in this case, Jitsi. Jitsi is open source. Now, if you don't know what open source is, and Justin and I love open source software. I mean, we absolutely love open source software. Some of the tools that we use are open source, and they're fantastic. What is open source? It basically means that the people that have developed the software are doing it under a certain licensing agreement that says, hey, even if you sell this thing, be sure that you make available the code that goes into making it, so that the people who buy it can turn around and, do something else with it. So a great example, Justin, is OBS. You and I talk about OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. It is a fantastic live streaming piece of studio. Basically, it's not elegant, it's really functional, and it does great stuff. And it's free, and it's open source. Now, there were some people that took that software, OBS, and said, we can make this better. And so they did what's called a fork, which means they took that code and started building on it, and they came up with Streamlabs. And Streamlabs is basically OBS on steroids. Okay, so that's what happens in the open source community, which is awesome. So these guys created this platform called Jitsi, and think of it like Zoom. Think of it like, any of these others, Webex or, whatever else is out there, these conferencing software. The thing is, though, is that it's available for any of us to grab. They don't host it. All these other platforms use a cloud hosting architecture. Basically they write the software, write everything, and then publish it. And the guts of it don't run locally on your computer. The guts of it run, say, on Amazon's data center in their infrastructure, or on Google Cloud, where you can, develop and, use the power of thousands of servers and, machines to do all the computations and stuff, instead of like making a, 100 megabyte file that someone has to download and run on their computer. What Jitsi did was said, we're going to make all this sort of stuff. We're going to make it into a server, and you can install that server, and then you can deploy it however you want. That's where the technical aspect goes. It's kind of like if you do web stuff, web development. I know Justin and I both do. There's a couple of different schools of thought. You can go with somebody like Squarespace or Wix, or even WordPress.com, where you go there and you set up an account, and then they give you a website and a bunch of templates, and you can go in there and start making it and all that, and then turn it on, and then the world can see it. Or you could like download a zip file for WordPress or Drupal or Joomla or any of these other, web development platforms, and go get a server somewhere, Rackspace or HostGator or whoever you're going to do it with, and you throw that zip file on there, and then get in there and start configuring it, and turn on your server, and then configure all the back end, and then get it all set, and then build your website on it. That's kind of what the Jitsi is. So, Squarespace, Wix, Zoom, Google Meet, they're all kind of in the same little space. WordPress, Jitsi, anything else that you have to build and deploy on your own, even if it's free, that's this side. So very capable. They have some fantastic looking features, Justin. But if you're not a code head, or if you're not technically minded, or if you think that'll be a challenge for you, if you like a challenge, go for it. But if you think it's going to be a challenge for you and stuff, then it's probably not where you want to look.
Yeah, so the pros are it's open source, so it's free and it's to you. It's completely under your control. A lot of people that don't use Zoom, a lot of organizations, I believe, well, I know NASA or it doesn't use it for security issues.
Obviously.
I want to say I heard other, I don't want to say the company, but I want other big, large companies do not, they've banned Zoom and they've implemented resources like Jitsi.
Right.
The cons is it's going to have a lot of setup, and maybe it's a lot for me because I am not, I know people are so surprised, I'm not technically minded. I am problem solving minded, and that's kind of why I work better with troubleshooting software than hardware. But I don't like a lot of setup. I don't like things to take a lot of time. You're going to manage your own server, whether that can be through a computer or if you actually have a dedicated server hardware. And it's not going to be the easiest user experience. You're going to have to build that out and train your staff. So if you really want to be under control, and I understand some people are like this. I'm not. When I came into my first full-time church job, I eliminated most of our on-campus servers and went cloud only. And that was in 2011 when it was still like, what's the cloud? So that's going to be things, but we want you to be aware of it. If you are technically minded, we have several followers that are technically minded.
Absolutely.
And can set this up in an afternoon, and they can train people, and God bless you. We need more people like you. We're glad you're on our side. Go for it. Jitsi.org is the website. So that's Jitsi. Let's get into some other ones that you might have heard of. GoToMeeting.
So they have a very low cost for a really good suite of tools. So their pro plan is, where the host, the organizer, is going to be starting at $12 a month. It's going to be 150 participants, which, for the most part is pretty good. But you get the HD video, you get screen sharing, you get the audio, you get a dial-in conference line, which is great for someone who's just like driving and needs to get in. Got unlimited meetings, no time limits, professional meeting room, all this kind of stuff. You don't get co-organizers, you don't get cloud recording or unlimited cloud recording. You don't get transcription. You do if you bump up to the next level. So it's really great. One of the things that when you're comparing it with Zoom is that Zoom starts off with a free plan, and their free plan lets you have up to 100 people, lets you have unlimited meetings, but a 40 or 45, I can't remember, I think it's 40-minute time limit, okay? Which, if you're doing something that is relatively quick, like we need to get together. I mean, your church staff may need to do a quick staff meeting. Hey, we're going to meet for about 30 minutes. We're going to kind of go over, our wins and where we need to go this week and do something like that. That's great. If it's a small team, like a handful of people, like, some executive staffs at churches and stuff, there's like 5 people. Then everybody can be in agreement. Okay, here's the deal. In 40 minutes, we're going to have to cut this off and let's rejoin. Okay, it's easy to do when you've got a small group of people. When you're trying to do it with a Sunday school class of 45 people, then you probably need to go up to the paid plan for Zoom. And here the paid plan, is less than Zoom's paid plan. So it's definitely worth looking at. It has been around for a long time. It is a log me in company, which means it belongs to Microsoft. So you know that there's development resources, that there's support, that it's got longevity. So they're not going anywhere, and they're really good. If you've ever gone to, like a webinar online, when you go register and then you get the email, hey, we're live, and put this code in or whatever, do that sort of thing. Most of them are being run by one of these. A lot of them are being run by GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. So they're there. They're good.
Yeah. So breaking down a couple of pros and cons that I found. Pros, for some people, this might be a big pro. They have a lot more advanced features with video correction. You and I actually use a webcam settings app to correct our video. GoToMeeting has all that baked into the platform. So if you really want to fine tune your video for what you're doing, GoToMeeting has from what I saw comparing all the other ones, the best advanced features for video correction, and it's being reported by several sources that GoToMeeting has better performance than Zoom. So if performance is really important to you, GoToMeeting might be the place to go. Now the cons are there's no free plan. You can get started with a 14-day free trial, but then you're gonna have to pay for it. And again, reported it's not as user friendly as Zoom. And that's part of the security issues. Part of the initial security concerns is because Zoom is so user-friendly. I mean, it basically, for Macs, that was the big concern was you click on Zoom and it's like, do you want to install Zoom? Yeah, great. And it just installs basically a web server on your Mac, which is kind of a big no-no. And it causes issues and security concerns because people, even if you uninstall Zoom, that web server is still on your computer. And so that vulnerability is still there. So GoToMeeting, is not as user-friendly because it doesn't do that ease of use stuff to lock down some security. And because of that, you're going to have some issues with it not being as user-friendly as Zoom. So again, this is the theme you're going to hear. Zoom is it's the most user-friendly software, and that's kind of why it's taken off, is because you use it once and you're like, oh, this is great. Then you use GoToMeeting and you're like, well, why is it so slow? What do I have to press here? Where are all the buttons? It's a little bit tougher. What are all these advanced video features? Why can't you just have Zoom touch up my appearance? Done. Hey, that looked great. So that's GoToMeeting, pros and cons. Next up, we got Webex. Have you ever used this by Cisco Webex? Dave, have you ever used Cisco Webex?
I have never hosted a meeting through Webex. I've joined meetings before in the past. In fact, I would say between my iPad and my computers, I probably have their little runtime app on here, as well as GoToMeeting and several of the others. Have you played with Webex?
I've used it as a user several times. I've joined several webinars and several meetings with Webex, but I have not hosted a meeting with Webex. Well, so I've hosted meetings with GoToMeeting, but not Webex.
Right. So Webex, it's by Cisco. Here it is. It's by Cisco. It's been around for quite a while, so has Cisco. One of the cool things about Webex is that they are offering a free plan. They're going head to head with Zoom, basically. And so your free plan is going to be obviously free. You can have up to 100 participants. You can meet as long as you want, which means there's no 40-minute time limit. That's really cool. You can call in for audio. You can have an unlimited amount of meetings, and you've got the desktop application and the whiteboard, and you can, you got some sharing options and things like that. It doesn't have, in the free version, it does not have the cloud storage. It doesn't give you transcriptions. It doesn't let you record video, and several other features. However, it's $13.50, so it is the starter is a little bit less than what Zoom is. However, it's also 50 participants, not 100. So there's a little bit of give and take there. The Plus is where we get closer to what, matching Zoom tit for tat. And I actually don't know. In fact, you and I were talking about this last night. I don't know if any of these, like Webex and Cisco, Webex and GoToMeeting, actually, I don't think they actually allow you to live stream one of your meetings like you can with Zoom. Again, that's part of the ease of use of Zoom, is you could make your meeting public, by sending it to Facebook or to YouTube. And Justin, that's kind of just a little sidebar. That's kind of one of the niches that that Zoom has filled, is people that are like you and me who want to have a show, want to have a chat show or interview show or do something like that. Their tool makes it really easy to just launch a live podcast like that. I had a client that when she wasn't here in my studio recording, if she was traveling, she would do it using Zoom. And this was several years ago. And that's one of the things that's really cool, is she would go ahead and get the guest on like that, get everything all set up, get her screen share ready for however she wanted. If she was going to do whiteboard or whatever, she'd have everything set and ready to go. And then she'd hit go live and go, "Hi, welcome to the show." And she'd start doing, and she didn't have to jump through a whole lot of hoops. And so that's one of the things that Zoom has that I'm not seeing with the others, because, and I say this a lot when especially you and I are both are doing this a lot in the comments on our Zoom tutorials, is that you have to remember that these are meeting platforms, right? So they may have a really cool feature, but they're meeting platforms. They are meant for a group of people getting together through the computer screen or through the phone screen and talking, not for someone getting up and preaching and having praise and worship time and doing all this kind of stuff. That's actually one of the questions that I've answered a few times, actually, is why does the guitar get cut out? Why is the piano getting cut out when we're doing our worship time and all that? Because these are video conferencing platforms. They're meant that these are telephones. Okay, are you going to try to transmit your praise and worship service over a phone line? You're going to hold up a phone so that people on the other end can hear and listen to it live. No, you're not going to do that, because the fidelity's not there. That is a talking. That is a voice conferencing thing. This is video conferencing. It's meant for basically what you see right here: me and Justin talking. That's what it's for. So keep that in mind. That's why you don't see some of these streaming features and these sort of things, because they're not meant for that.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's again what separated Zoom from the pack. Now,
Absolutely.
I do want to clarify. I noticed a little, not asterisk, but I noticed something on the page that kind of piqued my interest, and I looked it up. And actually, the free plan of up to 100 participants, meet as long as you want, unlimited number of meetings. That is not their typical free plan. That is their response to the coronavirus pandemic. They do have a 40-minute limit, and they do have a 50 participant limit on their personal plan. So I just want to make you aware of that. So when we say a pro of WebEx is that their free plan has no time limit, that's probably just temporary. I'm sure as soon as this is done, you'll be downgraded to the regular free plan, and you will have a 40-minute limit. But for right now, if you need a free platform and you need, which, by the way, me and Dave say, go ahead and put a little bit of money into it. If you're going to do this and rely on this for your Bible study meetings, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
I guarantee you're spending more than $13 a month for electricity to host your small groups at church.
Oh, absolutely.
You can go ahead and spend that on WebEx. So
unless you don't have air conditioning.
Pros and cons of WebEx. For right now, the free plan has no limit. That's fantastic. And they do have less traffic than Zoom. A lot of these guys are going to have less traffic than Zoom, so you may experience a bandwidth benefit. Now, that said, Pete, and this is why we love you guys being in the chat, Pete in the chat said he uses WebEx at work, and right now they're having several issues. So one of our followers, fans, whatever you want to call them, Pete, we love Pete. He's here almost every week. He's saying they're having issues right now. So just take that with a grain of salt. Some cons, I did some math. It is pricier to scale. You have to basically pay in tiers for every 50 users you want. So if you plan to have hundreds of people in your meetings, which it's rare, but if you want to do that, if that's your goal, it's going to cost more on WebEx than it would on Zoom. And then the relative paid plans, the around $15 plan for Zoom and the around $15 plan for WebEx, you have more participants with Zoom. And reportedly, again, others are saying in the reviews, it's a more difficult user experience than Zoom. Zoom's just easier to install, easier to get started. So that is, kind of how WebEx compares to Zoom. Last thing, Google Meet.
Yeah.
Dave, you put this on my radar because I had never heard of it. I was like, hey, what about Hangouts? And you're like, no. Google Meet.
Right.
No. We're using Google Meet. Okay.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
So tell me about Google Meet. I did some research, but Dave, you tell me about Google Meet.
Google Meet is basically born out of Google Hangouts, which is something that has been around for quite a long time. I'm surely there is somebody, at least one person in our chat watching this that has used Google Hangouts before. It was their answer to Skype. Integrates with the Google platform with all the apps and all that sort of stuff. Very easy to deploy. Comes installed on your Android phones. All that sort of stuff is fantastic. Well, they've taken it to the next level. One of the cool things with Google Hangouts is you could do meetings and you could do stuff like that. But now they've got a purpose-built platform for doing that. It's called Google Meet. And just like anything else Google, it's very simple. You go to meet.google.com. If you're not logged into your account, log into your account because it's tied to your Gmail account, which means you have access to it. And there it is. It's very basic. Start a meeting. And you do a meeting. You start a meeting. You can share the link and the password to that meeting, and other people can do it. Justin and I did it in about 10 seconds last night.
Yeah.
Just to test it.
It was surprisingly easy.
Yeah. It's really easy, and it just works. And that's like a lot of Google stuff is, kind of the Apple mantra. It works. It works. You just do it. The cool thing is that I mean, most people have Gmail accounts, so it's there.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's frictionless. It's just there. Just go use it. I'll do a little walkthrough video for you guys about how to use it, and then we'll try to kick it up to the next level, using it on steroids if we can. But it's really basic. Still lets you do what you need to do. You can present your screen. You can, have multiple people on there. All that sort of stuff. It's really cool. I like that it ties into the Google architecture because that's what you and I use. Where we use G Suite, isn't that the official name? The Google Suite. Think about the, it's like the corporate version of the Google apps and everything. Just like you've got the Microsoft 360 or whatever it is, for or Live or I don't know whatever they're calling it these days. But we use the Google stuff and it's just there. It's available to us. And if you're doing your presentations using Google Slides, then the integration is a lot easier than it is with, Keynote or PowerPoint or whatever. So it's cool. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, so you do need a G Suite account, which can start at $6 a month per user. But we haven't really talked a lot about it. It's a little bit outside our media wheelhouse. But if you're a nonprofit with a 501c3, you should have G Suite, Google Suite, because it's free. Essentially, you get you get G Suite for education. It's free. I mean, you can have just as many people as you want. They give you 25, and they just say, "Hey, we need more," and they say, "Okay, well, here's 100," and you just keep going. If you have a 501(c), and I know that
501c3.
501c3, and I know that's some issues from some churches. That's fine. But if you do have that, G Suite is free basically, which means that you get Google Meet for free. So and it's pretty easy to sign up. You just sign some paperwork. They get back to you pretty quickly. Now, right now during the pandemic, I don't know what waiting times there, but so it's one of those things where like you should have this already. And if you don't, then yeah, Meet's not going to be free, or you're going to have some more limitations. But if you do, then it's already there for you. And again, it was really easy, no software to install. It's all through the browser, and looked pretty good. I didn't think it looked good as Zoom, but Dave, we didn't test it really that much.
No, we really
In fact,
didn't put it to a heavy
we
test.
had Zoom and Meet at the same time.
Yeah,
so maybe there was
exactly.
some issues there, but
You're burning the candle at both ends.
I was pleasantly surprised with how easy it was and how nice it was to use. It's simple, and that's what Jeff said in the chat here. It seems the best part of it seems that part of the simplicity of Google Meet is no required software to install. So it just works anywhere, which we really liked, and it was really easy to set up. And I'm sure you can integrate it with Google Calendar if you're already using that. So that's Google Meet. So the pros are, if you already have G Suite, it doesn't cost anything, so it's just baked in there. It's going to be really easy, again, if you're plugged into the Google infrastructure, to share it on the calendar, set the dates and everything. I mean, I have an extension that can automatically create Zoom meetings out of my calendar, but I'm sure it does it automatically, kind of like you can create a Hangout meeting from your calendar. I'm sure you can create a Google Meet meeting from there. The cons are, I guess, if you don't, the only one I can think of is if you don't have a G Suite account. And I know there's some churches that don't, even though they have a 501c3 for whatever reason. Dude, it's free. It's free, personalized email, and then you get all the Google stuff. You don't have to use the Google Docs. If you want to use Word, that's fine. But we should do a show on that eventually.
I think we should.
Yeah, G Suite for churches. If you have a 501c3, it's free, which means Google Meet is free. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
And,
so if you do have a G Suite account, then you can be the host. If you just have a straight Gmail account, then you can participate. That's the caveat. But
so I mean, too, it's $6 a month, right? Just make yourself a G Suite personal account.
Why not?
$6 a month. A lot of my clients do that if they're just solopreneurs. Just make yourself one for $6 a month, and then you can just share the invite to everyone else. So
cool
that's
stuff.
an option there too, Dave. Any other thoughts on? We got some people in the chat talking about Hangouts and the other software.
Yeah,
other thoughts before we take off?
You can. Hangouts is still there. You can use Google Hangouts. There's not a problem with doing that. You can also use Skype. I mean, you and I are on a Skype connection right now, and Skype is cool. When you and I started talking about, and the angle that we have hit with using Zoom and these things, these types of services, is we're hitting it from the ministry perspective. We're hitting it from the ability to have a remote Bible study. That's kind of the thing we come at, because especially right now, the men's Bible study on Monday night can't meet. You can't. I mean, you could maybe get away with it and not get yelled at if you were doing it in the fellowship hall and one guy was at this table and another guy's at that table and another guy's over here at this table, and you're all yelling at each other, depending on how old the men are in that group. That probably already happens anyway. But the thing is that we can't physically meet together. So that's why we like these tools, is because you can facilitate those meetings. Your Sunday school class can meet, your men's Bible study, your women's Bible study, moms of preschoolers, MOPS. All of these tools can help facilitate those meetings. And just like Justin is here on my screen, and when he and I meet, when we do stuff like that, we'll have times when we're each working on a separate project, but we got the screen going on and we got each other's voices coming through the speakers and stuff. And I mean, we're just together. He and I have physically been together 3 times. That's it. But he's also one of my best friends because we meet like this and we do that. So you can have some of that personal interaction. You just can't hug. So using those tools for this type of thing is fantastic. Other tools like Skype and like Google Hangouts can be used like this, but the problem is that facilitating it is a little bit different. So for me in Skype, I work with a couple of television networks, and so we have Skype groups. So we have a group that is all the different people that we work in this area of the cable company, the network, and so we're constantly talking back and forth throughout the course of the day. With that group, I can hit Meet Now, and all of a sudden the window opens up, my camera turns on, and then they start popping in. and that's great. But it takes me going and creating a group and making sure that the CEO is in there and that the COO is in there and that Julia, who lives in Arizona, is in there. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of doing something like this. Whereas with Zoom or with Google Meet or whatever, you can send out a meeting invitation. Same thing with Webex and with GoToMeeting and stuff. You send out this invitation to whoever you need to. If you're using your email list at church and you're segmenting it so that the different Sunday school classes, they're in a list and all this sort of stuff, then you just like email that list and then everybody gets this. It's frictionless. Even with security, it still can be frictionless for the most part for a participant. They click, they download the thing, they install it, and boom, and now it's there for any time that they need to do. Again, they just click on the link, it pops up, and they're in the meeting. Really, really easy stuff. But you can use Hangouts and you can use Skype. It's just not as frictionless, and it's definitely for, a much, much smaller group.
Yeah. There's a couple other softwares that people are mentioning in the chat, and we kind of talked about this when we were planning the show. There's a difference between calling software and meeting software and streaming software.
Right.
Calling software would be like Hangouts and Skype. It's kind of like the contacts on your phone. You have to know someone's username. You have to bring them in. Like I did a Hangouts with a group. I played a game with my brother-in-law, and I had to give them my username, and then they invited me to the call. Same thing with Skype. I have to know our guests' usernames to invite them into a call. I can't just start a call and then say, click this link to join my Skype call. And if you can, I don't know about it. Same thing with Skype for Business. Maybe this has changed, but when I worked in a university environment and we used Skype for Business, it does not integrate with regular Skype. Right. You can only talk with other Skype for Business users. Right. And so Jordan said you can use Teams and Skype for Business. That's great, but we couldn't. And this was in a university of 4,500 people, students and faculty. We could, if there was a regular Skype account, we could not get them in. We had to use a workaround. It was tough. And Teams, Microsoft Teams is another meeting software. I did not enjoy it. We had multi-gigabit connections on campus with fiber in every building, and we still could not hold a consistent meeting. We would have freezes. The video quality was very low. I was not pleased with it. And again, if you wanted to have meetings with other people outside of campus, outside of our domain, we just had so many issues trying to get that working. And in fact, we bought Zoom licenses for the campus, all faculty and students, because we were having so many issues with Skype and Teams.
Just look at it like this. Yeah. The difference between like the calling software and like Zoom and stuff is the difference between me like calling my friends and say, hey, y'all want to come over for dinner? And then sending Justin and Bridget a text and going, hey, y'all want to come over for dinner? And then sending someone else a text and saying, hey, you want to come over for dinner? And then they go, sure. And then they show up at the house, hey, we're here, and we have dinner and goof off and watch a movie and all that sort of stuff, versus saying, hey, we're having a conference, and you guys are welcome, so come join us. And then going into there and starting to have the conference, and people come trickling in. I don't know who they are. Hi, what's your name? Hi, what's your name? I don't know who these people are. They got the invitation. They clicked on it, and they can come in, versus I know Justin's phone number. I can text him. What are y'all doing for dinner? It's that kind of a thing. So the Skype, like doing a Skype group meet or something, that may be fine for the staff. That may be fine for the teacher. We have a private school, so you've got 20 teachers and you've got some admins. It's a relatively small group. It takes 10 minutes to gather everybody's Skype handles and make a group, and then there you go. You're just chatting throughout the day. You're meeting when you need to meet and stuff, versus, setting up Zoom and all that just to use it for this kind of thing. So it's a little easier, a little less friction sometimes in that context, but not for your Sunday school class, not for the men's Bible study, not for a virtual conference marriage conference that you're going to be hosting at your church or something like that. That's what the meeting software is for.
Right. And then you've got streaming software. So the meeting software is great if everyone needs a speaking part. So we got calling each other on the phone. We've got meeting in small groups. That's going to be your Zoom, your Webex and stuff like that. Then you've got your corporate worship where there's a stage and you're in the crowd and you're singing along, but you're mostly quiet and you're listening to one person talk. That's your streaming software. That's OBS, Ecamm, going live natively from Facebook and YouTube, where the participation is at a minimum because you're really focusing on one person. And that's the difference. So you can live stream with Zoom, but it's not a go-to live streaming software. If you want to, put a laptop up there with your pastor and you're going to record on Zoom and stream it, there are better ways to do it, more ideal ways. So but if you want to use Zoom, that's you can do that right now.
So Barry says I do appreciate these tools designed to help with meetings. However, we need to think of ways to work around their shortcomings. Like you said, worship music doesn't do well in Zoom. Worship music's not meant to do well in Zoom. It's really that simple. I mean, I can't. These are two different things. These are two totally different things. You have to understand that. Okay. If I want to, I can watch a movie on my phone. But I'm going to be sitting there like this, watching a movie on my phone. I'm going to have my headphones in. I'm going to be squinting, and my neck's going to get tired. If I want to watch a movie, it's much better experience to be sitting in my chair with a 60-inch screen or with a couple of friends over at the movie theater with my feet kicked up and a huge bucket of popcorn with a 6-story screen in front of me. That's a much better experience. I can experience the movie in the appropriate venue. I can watch it on my phone, on my watch if I want to, but I'm squinting. It's just not a good experience. It's not meant to be consumed like that. Whereas if I'm going to have a men's Bible study, we're not going to have praise and worship in the men's Bible study. This isn't praise and worship time. We've got 45 minutes at lunch. We're going to come together and we're going to have a little Bible study, and then we're going to go back about our day. We're not going to be singing 4 Chris Tomlin songs. We're not going to pass the plate. We're not having a church experience like that. Two totally different things. So you have to put them in the appropriate context. Okay. Yes, you can use Zoom in conjunction with streaming software to do some really cool things. Just like I am using Skype with broadcast software to stream it out to you guys. But again, we're using it for a very specific purpose. We're not trying to cram a square peg into a round hole. Don't do that. You don't need to. You don't need to. There's other things. That's why you follow the church media guys, right?
And hit that like button and subscribe.
And ring that bell.
Yeah, so that's absolutely the case. And it's kind of like you can have worship in your men's Bible group. It's going to be on Dave's 50-year-old guitar and 12-year-old strings, and he's playing without a pick, and he's trying to sing, and you're like, we would never put that on stage without some practice.
You're detracting from the experience.
For men's Bible study, in my last church, we had the old folks that, and I say that with love. They had their Bible study group, and they had a piano that hasn't been tuned in probably since before I was born. But they would praise and worship on it, and it was great for the group. And the same thing, it didn't sound that great, and we would make sure to tune that piano. We had a better piano on stage. That piano and that worship stayed in the confines of that room for a reason. Well, if you're going to do worship on Zoom, it's kind of the same thing. You're going to have a lesser experience, and you're going to have to either be okay with that, or if you want something better, actually use streaming software combined with some kind of form of audio mixing.
Yeah, Zoom is a telephone.
You can do that.
Remember that. Zoom is a telephone, guys.
Yeah,
it's an actual telephone. I mean, I'm talking.
Yeah, and they're
black Bakelite. Pick it up.
Is not on their mind.
Yeah, that's it. It's a telephone, but you can see video on it.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I think that's all the softwares.
I think so. Fantastic. Did y'all get anything out of this? Was it good? Was it good for you? Did you learn something? Did you have something confirmed? Do you have more questions? That's what the comments are for. So leave comments below. Let us know. We are here to serve you. We love you. Justin and I want you to succeed in your ministry. We want you to thrive in this time, this weird time that we're living in right now. Ministry-wise, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to destroy your church, or it's going to grow your church in ways that you never even thought possible. And when this weirdness is over, your church is going to be much stronger, or you're going to be putting it up for sale. That's one of two things is going to be happening during this time. So Justin and I want you guys to thrive. That's why we're bringing all this to you. We love you. We hope that everything is going well and growing with you guys. Take the stuff that we're talking about here, take the things that you're learning from us, and use it to go change lives. Take care. Have a fantastic week.